A late summer attraction returns to the Pinebank Field in Jamaica Plain with the 8th anniversary of the JP Music Fest. This year's lineup includes rock, folk, punk, and Venezuelan music. All groups have to have at least one artist from Jamaica Plain, and joining us are two of the local organizers, co-producer Rick Berlin and a member of the festival committee, Margie Nicoll. Thank you both very much for being with us. I was saying with Margie, there's a rule here that every group has to have at least one person who lives in JP or works in JP. Why do you do that?
Mostly because we want to keep it very Jamaica Plain. Yeah, and there's so much talent in the area that I think we have no problem pulling that off. So that's how we keep it, right, Rick?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's never going to be like Boston Calling. It's a really locally focused community event. We have slightly opened up the rule to say if you have a long, deep connection to Jamaica Plain, because friends and musicians have had to leave because of gentrification. So if they've been there and we know them and they've been there for years and years and years, and there's people performing this year in that category, we let them in. Yeah. They deserve it.
Margie, this is not just a one-time effort for these local musicians, because and the rest of the year they're playing in Jamaica Plain a lot of the time.
Pretty much, yeah. And around Boston, but there's fewer and fewer venues for them to play in. So it's good to be able to see them out for a free event in a beautiful setting all together. So it's wonderful.
Rick, we have all these different genres that you're going to be having at the festival, but what's the common denominator here? I mean, if there's so much JP, what's the JP flavor? How would you define it?
Seamus and I choose the bands. It's a vile job, and over, I think 86 applied this year for 20 slots. And you want to mix it up, and you hope that they have videos of a live performance, so you're not just judging them on a studio performance, so that they have some energy on stage. And then you want to make sure you've covered as many bases as possible, genre-wise, so that as the bands perform stage after stage, there's always a mix-up, a toss-up, an excitement, a shift, and we're lucky that there are so many different kinds of genres represented in Jamaica Plain musically.
Margie, I know what Rick's talking about because I've seen the energy on the stage, and then it ripples out to what people are doing on the field, right?
Yeah, there's always something for everyone, all different ages. The kids love it. There's some older groups that bring their chairs in and have their spot under the shade. And it's nice to see people starting to dance, or who they're going to, sometimes they dance the whole time, and sometimes they pick certain things, but there's like jazz and the Footlight Club, which is a local theater in Jamaica, one of the oldest theaters. And they do usually have a showing for, I guess their fall show is Pippin. And so it's nice to see them get up to do their Broadway, their theatrical music, and people love that, so that's always there. And then we have Berkeley musicians and professors that usually play, and so there's always really good jazz. And I think the Venezuelan, is he from?
Yeah, tell me about that, because it's not just one kind of Venezuelan music. You get a couple of kinds of music blended in from Venezuela, right?
We've had a not easy time of having Latino performers. You only get 18 to 20 minutes per performance, and a lot of Latino music is kind of jam, and they have songs that are that long. So there's a constriction that they need to face. Also, being white, it's just I am less in touch with personally with those kinds of performers, but thank God they apply. We listen to them and we love them. Ray Lariano's played before. And then we have a jazz harpist, Eduardo, who's just wonderful, We also always try to include an underage band. And we've got this band called the Submissions, and they're at 10, 11, and 12, and they're really good, and their dad is going to introduce them, and their dad, Brian Charles, is playing with Sheila Devine. So his kid's playing and he's playing. It's awesome.
They're kids, but they're Jamaica Plain kids, right?
Yeah.
That's correct.
The high school, JP High.
Yeah.
Coming back to Margie, you know, people associate some of the bars in JP with punk or post-punk.
Yeah.
You've got some of that in the mix too,
Oh,
right?
yes. I believe Andy California would be under that genre, maybe. Old Hilkin runs the girls' camp, rock
No
girls.
Hugs too.
Yeah, and she's been in Jamaica Plain for years, but she can cover a good genre anyway with rock or indie or anything. So she's playing, and who else? We got some electronic music this year too.
Right. And there's one band, the Boston Herald says they sound like a roadhouse you would hear at Twin Peaks or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, who's that? That's Hallelujah in the Hills, I believe. Is that?
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah,
Hills?
yeah.
Yeah.
What are they like?
Here we go. Oh,
They're really great. They're somewhat pop, you know, but Ryan Walsh also has a book out, and Astral Weeks, about his experience as a kid responding to that record by Van Morrison. And then he researched the whole thing and wrote this amazingly funny and deep book about local music. And he's
The
part of it.
counterculture in Boston about 50 years ago.
Yeah.
It's totally.
Right.
I think it's important that we mention our sponsors. Margie, here they all are. They're very important.
You got these, you know, any store in JP that doesn't look like a chain, there's a good chance they're one of your sponsors, right?
yes.
That we can't do it without them.
And why do they pitch in, you think?
I think because we're a very close-knit community, and all of us frequent all of these places numerous times. The Midway Cafe is actually one of the only, well, few of the places to see live music in Jamaica Plain, and they've always been with us. They've been around for years. It's good to have them, and then a lot of us are musicians, work in the industry. Tres Gatos, we're all kind of a family. So,
Rick, you bring in thousands of people to this now, and that ripples out to JP's. You know, the food trucks are not enough for them, so I know they go to some restaurants too. But back when you started this, did you ever think it would grow to be what it is now?
Yep. We did, but I mean, the first one was a wig and a prayer. I mean, I love the first one because so many things went wrong. It became hysterical at war stories down the road, and then we just kept improving it. And now, I mean, Seamus is just tremendous with the city, and Charlie's phenomenal with marketing. Justin does all this great graphic work. Ferris keeps an eye on the money to be sure we're not in the red. And Margie keeps us all sane, and on the day of, she and Ferris always open the performance by singing America the Beautiful.
yeah.
And so what we also knew is it never become gigantic. People have offered to take it over, to buy us out kind of, and turn it into some large scale thing, which would not be right, you know. It's for families, children, dogs, food trucks, and musicians. A day when you forget all the other stuff in your life, you just have a picnic.
Yeah, also it's to be at the park, the Jamaica Pond. I mean, Parks and Recreation, Boston. I mean, that in itself is a blessing that we even have that space. So
It is.
it's nice to know that we're actually having a nice day in the park,
And
obviously.
it's one part of the park that can withstand a little wear and tear. Margie, finally, if people want the details on this, you know, which act comes when and so on. You got a website they can check that
Oh,
out?
yes, jpmusicfestival.com. The schedule, the program's up. It looks like this. And the timing's right. Everything's on time. We have people that help us make sure everything's very on schedule, so that's him usually.
Yeah, I'm the soccer mom for the day.
So there's 2 stages. Everything is nonstop, pretty
That's
much.
right.
Yeah.
You don't have to
Yeah.
listen to people adjusting the volume.
Yeah,
Okay.
we try. Yes.
Okay. Margie Nicoll and Rick Berlin
Thank you very much.
for the JP
Great to be here.
for the JP Music
Yeah,
Festival.
see you Saturday, guys.
Yes.